Welcome, everybody. This is Abacus Fish, and we are playing Antagonist RPG via Roll20. Here's your game master, James Somerton.
Hey all, welcome to the game. We are going to be playing a spooky version of Antagonist. Players will have to go to isolated an island to solve some mysterious happenings that is occurring to a noble family there. They have all been called for various reasons. Introducing the players. First, we have Joe.
Hello, I will be playing as Tristan, the Red
And
Blazers.
Seth, who are you playing?
I am playing Lancelito.
And finally, we have Sophie, who is playing
Badger.
So, the Isle de la Culebra, dreary, isolated island along the southwest of the Empire's ever-expanding borders, barely given thought by much of the Empire until a scant few years ago, a mysterious and valuable ore was unearthed within its mines. Demand for this strange purple ore manifested immediately within the ranks of the Empire's indomitable army, and the small noble family that governed the island saw a spike in influence and prosperity as their population swelled with migrant laborers sent to them from amidst the Empire's downtrodden and war-indentured population. The people called to help gathered aboard the ship. Heading them up in the passenger hold is a tall, blonde nobleman by the name of Antonio, and he is addressing all of you. He speaks to each of you. My father isn't well, and I've been receiving ever more disturbing letters from him. This has become particularly problematic as the Vasquez Merchant Company has transitioned from helping with the logistics of running the mine that my family has been tasked by the Emperor to take care of, and now actively sabotages its production to undermine my family's claim to it, presumably in hopes of taking it for their own. He turns to Tristan first. What does Tristan look like?
An average build for an average, unassuming person. You would have to know who he was in order to know just his capabilities. At this particular venture, he'd actually probably try to blend in with the rest of the crowd. A worker's outfit, smock. Although one piece of flair, he does keep his hair in a red bandana. Youngish,
Oh.
20-ish.
Well, nondescript as he may attempt to be, this is a small hold, and Antonio turns to you and addresses you directly. I fear that the villagers that were operating as a militia have lost their loyalty to my father, providing little support should things become dangerous, and increasing the danger from the fey-touched monstrosities that roam the Isle at night. Further, these monstrosities serve as problems for the mines, who must transport the ore to the harbor. I'll need your help making sure that these things are dealt with and that my father and his people are protected from the treasonous Vasquez family.
This I can do.
He nods to you and your men, because you have a few men with you, and then turns to the duelist. Lancelito. What does Lancelito look like?
Lancelito is very well dressed, much as Antonio. Being a duelist, he likes to keep up appearances, although he doesn't necessarily value money as much as Antonio does, having gone to the Weldrake Academy along with Antonio. And he has short red hair, and at being a duelist, he likes to keep in top physical form. That's Lancelito for you.
My friend, I thank you for coming on this journey with me. I don't think I could have done this without you. You see, in keeping with my father's reduced influence over his vassals, the Vasquez family has managed to slander his name. My friend, you are a man of great honor, and I hope that as you stand with him, you can help the people see the worth of my family once more, and the traitorous intent of the vile merchants that would betray us. He bows his head gratefully to you, and then turns with a less grateful, maybe even wary look to Bernadette. Bernadette, what do you look like?
Bernadette, aka Badger, is a pretty tough looking early 30s woman who is more concerned with books than one might think, but does not appear that way on the outside. Despite how she looks on the outside, she's gonna smile at our blonde friend Antonio here.
Antonio returns your smile with a little difficulty. It's clearly he's wary. Your reputation, while not widely known, is known to him. You are a sage, a knower of histories forbidden by the Empire. But he needed your help, so he called you. He speaks. Your wisdom, though disturbing, is something that circumstances force me to call upon. Though I would recommend you keep your predilections secret from the folk of the Isle, for your own safety. I fear there may be something foul afoot on the island that has hastened my father's fall from grace. I can only hope I am wrong, but only you can discover the truth. Then he addresses all of you, including the various other persons you have brought with you, for each member of the group has their own little entourage. As I promised, if you are all successful, I will guarantee you a share of my family's income for 5 years, which will make you quite well off. Further, I will personally support your endeavors within the Empire, using the influence granted by the Emperor's value of my family's contributions. Please, I entreat you all, for the safety of the Empire, help my father and I break free from this foul malaise.
Everybody in my group is like, and gentle nod. We'll see it done.
Antonio does look buoyed because you are the first people to offer him support in this endeavor that he was able to find. It is late summer right now, and the sky is blue and the ocean is calm. And because of that, you can see the island approaching in the distance. It's not big. You can see from one side of it to the other. So you see the harbor, but beyond that, you also see old dilapidated lighthouse that is currently non-functional and an ancient manor behind it. The boatman comes down to the hold where you're all there. Everyone up on deck will be arriving very shortly. I'm going to need to unload the cargo out of here, so if there aren't any people, it'll be a lot easier. You arrive in the town of the Alvarez family. Antonio wastes little time escorting you to a carriage where at least the three of you and Antonio will fit. It looks like your entourages will have to walk the remainder of the way. You travel to the manor, which is perhaps half a mile from town, and you pass the old lighthouse that you saw. It is right next to the manor, and it looks like it was once operated by the people within, but has not been operational for many years. And finally, you reach the entryway. Meeting you there is an old, kind of lanky-looking manservant who looks to Antonio with a bit of recognition and then looks to you, each of you. We were not expecting you so soon, Lord Antonio, but your haste is nonetheless much appreciated. Please have your people come in. We have rooms for them. You enter, and the place is very sparsely populated. There aren't a lot of servants. It looks like this guy takes care of most of the place. Antonio barely acknowledges him and practically leads you at a much faster pace than a manservant can move to kind of a scribe's room and takes you to a center table where a map of the town has laid out. I'm sorry, I would entreat you with niceties, but we have little time, and I need to get you situated before I can go on to my own activities. Let me speak of the town of Alvarez. The Alvarez family oversee the town. The town exists to provide a place for the workers to grow food and socialize, and also provide a place for the harbor and the emperor's appointed man, the constabulary. You can find, drink, or speak with most of the farmers down the town. The mine is located deep within the island and is unfortunately across the wilderness. I would caution you not to travel after dark to the mine unless you absolutely need to.
What's in the wilderness that creates such danger?
Monstrosities, half Fae. Perhaps you are aware that the Fae will sometimes mate with beasts and create creatures barely imaginable that are neither beast nor Fae. These creatures maraud and harass those that travel and can sometimes even be deadly.
Sounds welcoming.
Indeed. They will have to be taken care of as they are one of the many problems that face us. In addition to that, my father, who is asleep now, I believe, his sanity has been in decline. I've been able to determine this from the letters that he has sent me. His ability to manage the minds is decreasing, and I will need to take that over. But I haven't lived here for 6 years. I don't know what the current state of things are. I need your help figuring out all of the problems that we face above and beyond what I've already told you, and fixing them before the Vasquez make their move. Before I go off to my own affairs, do you have any questions?
Yeah, what would you like us to do if we see your pops out there?
Make sure no harm comes to him, and if he is up to something that looks like it might threaten the integrity of my family, please try to distract him. If there are no more questions, I need to head into town.
So it's keep your father preoccupied. Be on the lookout for the conniving Vasquez family. Watch out for the half-fey monsters that roam the forests, and just in general make sure that people are still doing their job. Does that kind of sum it up?
Indeed, I have utmost faith in you, and I need to be off to town. In the meantime, feel free to peruse the map and perhaps set out into town to get a feel for the place. You guys look at the map in the center.
I would, at least, yeah.
So what you see, a map of the entire island, and it looks to be 10 miles to a side, and there's several landmarks. I'm putting this in chat because you'll probably need to refer back to it. There's the town, which has a variety of places: the harbor, the mead house, the constabulary. The constabulary is a man appointed by the emperor basically to oversee things and make sure that the emperor's interests are upheld. He's not technically there to uphold the law, he's there to uphold the emperor's interests. And then each of the family heads has their farm or residence marked. Now, the family heads, there's 4 families in town. Each of them kind of have their own area. They don't intermingle much. Looking beyond the town, the wilderness actually has some landmarks marked out as well. You see Carmen's estate, or the Vasquez estate, which is where the merchants have set up shop. They do not live in town. They have their own manor, much like this one. Then, not too far off from the Vasquez estate is the mine itself. Every single one of the families has people that work in the mine. You also see a strange demarcation. It looks like a recent addition, like the map was made originally and then this was added later. And it's a little hut kind of in the middle of the woods, just not near anything. And it is just labeled in like rough scrawl that was added to the map, Doctor's Hut. So with that said, Kristen, we are going to start main character. What are you going to do?
I address Lance Alito. What is your take on the situation?
I think that we should go explore the town and find out more, get a feel for what's around.
Badger? That is an interesting... What do you feel? What's your inclination?
For Badger,
I think a look around the town probably is in order. I'd be
Fair
happy to go along.
Well, first, I need to meet up with my men. But once I've done that, would you care to meet at the meat house?
sounds like a plan.
All
I
right.
like that plan.
I rendezvous with the rest of... Give me about a half an hour and then I'll be there. I think that'll be enough time. I politely excuse myself. And I go meet up with the rest of my gang. Yeah, we'll call them a gang. How many of my dudes are here? I think you said like 5?
It looks like you have 2 named characters. So you have 2 people that can actually do something.
Then actually, in that case, my spy, who I will call James, I instruct James to go gather information from the constabulary and see not only who's been causing a ruckus, but try and ascertain who's really in charge in this town and how much is Antonio in over his head. Does he actually still hold sway? That kind of deal. And the doctor, actually it's Doctor Who, but it's spelled H-U.
Okay, yeah.
So, so Mr. Who go to the 2 farms that are outlined on the map and see the condition of their people and their livestock.
Tristan, I'm a doctor, not a veterinarian, but I'll do my best.
You're the most personable of the 3 of us, for sure. And I trust your judgment. And also, any awkward illnesses, weird injuries, if something afflicts these people, keep note of it. And let's meet at sundown and see what we find, all right?
Alrighty. And count on me, probably. By the way, after I'm done, Mead House isn't too far according to this map.
That's where you should find me.
Okay, yes, that's why I was going to go there, to find you.
Oh, sure. I see how it is. All right. Fair enough. On your way.
And Jim doesn't say much, but he never does. He does hold out his hand and coughs. What you're asking for will take resources.
I reach into my pocket and pull out a shiny wealth point, I guess. Is that how it's supposed to work?
Yep, he basically needs money to do the task that you gave him.
All right, cool. Then yeah, I reach into my pocket and pull out a shiny wealth point and
Okay.
hand it to him.
Go ahead and lower your wealth by 1, and you had him spying on the constabulary.
Yes, sir.
You had some more general tasks for him too.
Try and ascertain who's really in charge here.
How about he will determine the power structure here?
That works.
That's right.
That works for me.
That's going to be a very complicated answer.
Yep.
Which I will give you later.
And then yes, as promised, I make my way to the meat house.
Do you arrive at the mead house? Since you're the main character, the camera follows you. Everybody else has gotten their off camera. You see Bernadette and Lancelito there, in addition to some other people.
I rendezvous with them, lead them to a table, just the three of us, if that's not already established. So what are your guys' impressions of the island so far?
Smaller than I would have imagined. There's a thick air of discontent.
Almost oppressive in nature.
Very
To undermine your comment, you hear some bellowing laughter and a boastful claim from behind you. A stockily built woman is commenting to her cohorts about how important they are to these newcomers, these merchants, and how the other families better watch out because she, Manuela, is favored by them, boasting to everybody that'll listen, including a number of people that clearly would rather listen to other things, about how much favor the Manuela family has achieved from the Vasquez.
So I would turn around, and this would be the point in the show where the camera literally pans from like the top of her head to the bottom of her feet and then back up. What is her deal?
So, as I said, she's a stout woman. She looks like a sturdily built. So, the primary ethnicity of the empire is La Gente. She is La Gente, really a commoner, but at least the other people close to her are looking at her with respect. And you can tell by her age and the fact that commoners don't usually reach that age that she's probably in charge of her family. There's another man that looks roughly similar of similar importance that she's talking to loudly, and he's trying to ignore her. He is also older and kind of looks like a head of his family. He has some younger people around him. They're darker skinned. They're Mezics, which are, I guess, the other primary ethnicity of the Empire. The Empire is made up of the La Gente and the Mezics, and they're roughly on par with each other. And then there's all the conquered people beneath them. He's trying to ignore her. He doesn't clearly care about what she's saying, and he seems very intent on talking herself up.
So I turn my chair around, I loudly let it hit the floor, but then I just sit on it backwards, resting my arms on the back of the chair, looking straight at her with a look of,
the
"Oh?"
younger people with her are the first to turn towards you, but eventually you catch even her attention, and she actually quiets down for a moment.
Go on. I want to hear the tales of Manuela. Why should the merchants fear you?
What is this newcomer that comes and seeks an audience with the Manuela family? She says, standing up with a grandiose gesture. But we would be remiss not to welcome you to our hospitable island here. The Vasquez, like all people before them, see the value and the competence of the Manuela family above and beyond these lesser families. She looks to the other man, and he rolls his eyes. But you are newcomers. Perhaps this means little to you. Tell me, friend, what brings you to this island?
Antonia's coin purse.
That seems to give her pause. And for a moment, the smile fades from her expression. Are you carrying a weapon with you?
Yes. I
Okay.
would have a sword.
She looks to that, and commoners don't carry swords, but
Oh, no, this is not for you.
I apologize for disturbing your drinks, my friend. Perhaps we can speak later. I remembered something I need to do.
Fair enough. Christ, am I supposed to be that much of a badass? Or, sorry.
She leaves, and her family leaves with her without a word. The other man turns towards you and says, "Oh, thank the Emperor. She's gone. Can I buy you a drink, friend?"
Surely. What is your name?
Name's Mingar. I've been here the longest.
I think I'm beginning to understand the relationship you two have. I would hear more, though.
The Manuela family is always looking for ways to aggrandize themselves, as if they could become some grandiose family in the middle of nowhere on this little island. Just keep your head down and do your work, and things will get done, and life will go on. He trades a few copper mon for some ale and brings it and it gets brought to you, Tristan, and each of your companions, Badger and Lancelito. I'm head of my family. We've got a little farm out on the edge of town. If you ever feel like dropping by. So why did Antonio bring you on here?
He fears for his family, his fortune in the mine, and so we're here to. All of us, all three of us, are here to help with that. We've got a little bit of info about the Vasquez, at least from the onset. They don't seem like a friendly bunch. And also, evidently at night, your woods are plagued with monsters, the Fae. Nasty
Yes.
business, that. That's mostly what the weapon is for.
Oh,
And then he also fears just in general that, like, because of the Vasquez, because of the other threats, he fears that even the villagers themselves, the people who've been here the longest, just are losing their faith in him and his family.
I'll level with you, friends. That might be a legitimate concern. And Layla will support anybody that she thinks is a step up for her. And Elsiv's gotten in a terrible terror about these creatures in the woods. And I think he's even worried about something else these days. And anybody that offers to fix that for him, which the Vasquez are, may well earn his favor. Me, I'd rather things just stay the same. I don't want whatever nonsense the Vasquez are bringing.
I can't blame you for that. But all this money from the. Did we ever actually name the ore?
It's a new metal. To the best of my knowledge, the stuff has no name.
Fair enough.
It's strange stuff, though.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything of that color. I'm wondering if maybe the Fey magics have worn off on this land.
That kind of wealth can change a community, unfortunately, more often for bad than for good. So, it'd be a difficult task just to keep your way of life the same way that it is.
I only hope that you're wrong, friend. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get to work. He stands up and leaves.
I might have screwed up a little bit because I had meant for James and Doctor Who to essentially spend the entire week of my episode, so to speak, doing these investigations. I imagine that they might report back to me, and then I'd simply ask for him to continue doing on. The doctor, I'd actually give him a rundown of Alger, Manuela, Mingar, and Yezlev, the four farm slash huts, because now I've at least got the names. So yeah, Mingar sounds like an old guard type that wishes things would stay the same. Manuela's family sounds like up and comers who want the biggest and best and the most change, so to speak. Yezlev evidently has problems that they don't know how to deal with. And if
You don't know anything about
Mingar,
Algar yet.
yeah, I was going to say, like, Mingar didn't mention Algar, so that's
At the mention of Algar, Bernadette might poke up because you remember that name. That is the name of the head of the Huron family, which are the people you actually secretly came here to study.
And if we are not within earshot of other people, I would give that knowledge to Tristan.
Once the meat house clears out, you mentioned that, and you guys recognize the Huron. It's one of the conquered ethnicities. They used to have a nation not too far into the mainland from where you're at. Like it's relatively close. They were conquered by the Empire, and their people had to pay a war debt because they resisted the Empire's rule. And so many of them were turned into indentured servants. Bernadette, you know that as part of the agreement to pay off their debt, some Huron were sent out to more distant lands, and a few of them were sent to this island shortly after the ore was discovered, basically as the Empire's way to bolster the workforce here.
I can't decide which of the families I'm more interested in talking to, if it's Manuela's or Yeslev's. Probably Manuela's, honestly. So, specifically to Badger, if I learn anything half as interesting about the Manuelas or the Yeslevs, then I'll let you know as payback for this information about Alger.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
On that note, I tell both my spy and my doctor to I send them off to continue on their assignments and don't expect to hear from them for at least a day or two. As sort of a last thing, finishing my drink, I actually go up to the barkeep and ask about this festival that's evidently happening and where we can find whatever festivities are happening.
Sorry, friend, I don't know what kind of festivals you guys have back on the mainland, but mostly it's just a day where people don't have to work.
I got the wrong impression, but thank you for
Yeah,
correcting.
yeah.
Once Leto is skeptical of everything going on, I asked the barkeep, Mingar and Manuela, are they involved with the mine?
Everybody here doesn't work a different job, works in the mine.
Do they help organize the workers?
They are the workers. There are 4 families here.
But I mean, which family has more influence?
If you ask Manuela, it's Manuela's family. But really, no one.
Interesting. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Well, we're closing up here pretty soon. I suggest you get back home unless you want to invite fate.
Shall we? I motion to Tristan and Badger.
Back to the manor we go, I guess.
So that passes. Your people actually have already filtered back. They don't have answers for you yet.
I think retiring to the manor, at least for the night, would be all right.
You go back to the manor. Night passes. It is
Okay.
the next morning.
Oh, it's morning already. All right.
Well, each turn is a week, so we're gonna pass time pretty quickly.
I would try and spend at least one day of this week, like with each of the different families.
So one might almost call that conducting an investigation.
Yes.
Who are you most interested in? Which of the families?
I'm very keen on Manuela's family.
Seeing or hearing that Lancelito is going to go talk to the Manuelas, or to Manuela, then I will go talk to Yeslev.
We're going to call this your kind of progressive task. If you could do an honor intrigue roll, the difficulty is 10. And tell me how many times you hit 10. You're going to roll 3d10 and add honor to the first 2 dice and intrigue to the last.
So, yes, no.
So you get a reasonable success. You get the sense that Yeltsev is a very superstitious man, and his primary concern, and by extension his family, is they're fearful. They're worried that creatures from beyond are going to steal their souls. You get the sense that they would probably lynch Bernadette if they knew who she was.
Oh gosh.
But they're that kind of people. In the process of your investigations, you find out that a large number of them weren't at the festival. It sounds like they might have snuck into the mine during the festival for some reason.
I know that they were working when they shouldn't have been working. That's something.
Now we are going to switch main characters. Lancelito, you have gotten the feel of this place following Tristan around, but you've got kind of your own motivations, and it's time to explore those. As the new main character for the next 10 minutes or so, what are you doing?
I am very curious to learn the motivations of the different families around town and what they're up to. I want to learn not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it.
Is there any particular family you are extra interested in?
I'm particularly interested in Manuela's family, but I'd like to send my spy to go around to the other families and just see what they're up to.
Your spy needs funds to do what you're asking of him.
Okay, I will spend a wealth point then.
What's your spy's name?
Glad.
Glad he kept an eye out for you back in your college days. Made sure you didn't get into trouble with all the gossipy folk at the Weldrick Academy. And he maintains his position here because you pay him to. He nods and says, Sorry, who did you send him off to spy on?
I want him to pay special attention to Manuela after I go and talk to her.
You're asking about Manuela, so go ahead and make an honor intrigue roll. Again, the difficulty is 10. Oh, looks pretty good.
875. And then add honor, and intrigue.
Yep, and you're just looking to see how many times you hit 10.
I guess if I'm adding intrigue to that 5, then I would have only hit 10 twice.
Okay, so you get a pretty good success. Not perfect, but pretty good. So, not surprisingly, as you go around asking about town, you do find that the Manuela family has very close ties to the Vasquez. And it sounds like they're not supposed to be working for Vasquez because officially Manuela is a peasant of the Alvarez family, but they definitely are. Manuela is particularly interested in anyone that can get her money or influence. She doesn't seem particularly loyal to the Vasquez. She's just identified them as the best source of these things. And you also find out that some of the Manuela family also snuck off to the mine.
What are they up to?
With 2 successes, you do not get that information. You just get that there was an illicit attempt to occupy the mine during the festival.
But Manuela doesn't seem particularly loyal to the Vasquez family. She's just self-interested in her own wealth.
Yep.
All right. Can I go around to the other families? And
the 2 families that you haven't really interacted with, or the one family that you haven't interacted with, is the Algers family, the Huron.
Yeah, let's go talk to them. They're an unknown.
Are you going by yourself or bringing people?
I'll go by myself, unless Tristan and Badger care to join.
I would be inclined to go see them.
I will tag along.
So you travel to Algar Farm, and since it is now daylight, there's actually some people out there.
Love to see
including James. Okay, let's get our main character to make me an intrigue roll.
Oh, well, so my intrigue's only 3. I guess that would be a fail. I'm aiming for 10.
Yep. Okay. So you don't notice the thing I was checking to see if you notice. And unfortunately, only the main character can notice it. So you approach the farm, and there's a dark-skinned man kind of speaking with some people. They grow quiet as you approach, and he looks up to you, and he smiles broadly. He wasn't smiling a moment ago. This is a smile for your sake. Hello, the newcomers.
Good day. How are
Word
you?
has already started to spread of your arrival here. The days are hard, but we have strived through worse.
I'm surprised you've heard of our arrival so quickly. Word spreads fast on this small island.
Indeed. One of my people actually saw your ship, and we grew curious.
Mm.
So you're with Antonio, then?
We are here on behalf of Antonio, yes, to oversee his investment into this community and ensure that it is protected.
May I ask if you have any specific plans for that?
I believe that his lordship is just looking to ensure that his control is not challenged. I am curious as to why people would desire to challenge his lordship in the first place. Are things so bad here that you're not
However
being...
bad they may be, they could always be worse. The Vasquez family is a cruel people. As they gather more and more influence over events here, meanings that they engage on the mainland, they start to make themselves obvious here.
Do you think that perhaps his lordship is being uncharitable to the workers here?
Not intentionally, perhaps, but things definitely aren't getting done properly.
Who's overseeing the work?
No one oversees anything right now.
The
Man
Vasquez
is too distracted with his own issues.
Perhaps he needs some motivation. Where might we find this Vasquez fellow?
Oh, you speak of the Vasquez. I thought you asked of the Lord Xavier.
Oh, no. When I say Lord, I meant Antonio.
Antonio is Lord Xavier's son, yes.
Yeah, okay.
At the mention of Antonio, He doesn't do it as much, but you notice like several of the other Algar farmers tense up and look a little uncomfortable. You even catch a couple of them looking off in one of the directions.
What caught the worker's eye? Is there something I'm missing around here?
Go ahead and make me another intrigue roll. You guys can all make it, by the way.
Well, if I add 3, well, then that would be 2 successes.
That's pretty good.
Oh, hey, look at Badger there.
Nice.
Oh, so 2 successes, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Also 2
interesting.
successes. Jeez, you guys. So at this point, you guys all realize that they're not looking at something. They're looking to make sure something isn't there. You might even notice some recently made footprints in the kind of soft soil that lead off from the farm. Fancy boot prints.
Who left these boot prints? Is that what's putting everyone on edge?
Oh, no. Those are Manuela's. She has a pair of fancy boots. Don't worry about that. It was visiting, and it always puts people on edge.
Manuela puts people on edge?
As she's a talker amongst people that don't talk much. Again, you don't have to worry over such things. It's small town politics, and you have much bigger things to solve.
Politics of a small town that interfere with the operations of the mine are our business, though.
But you were asking about the Vasquez family.
We're new here, so we're trying to find out as much as we can to make sure that we can resolve the issue.
Vasquez are leeches and parasites that came here under the auspices of helping Lord Alvarez set up the mine, but have mostly just interfered, albeit subtly, probably with the hopes of undermining him and taking over.
Why would they want to take over from his lordship?
Because he has something they want. The Vasquez family owns another one of these mines. They're extremely rare. If they get enough of them, they will have a monopoly on this ore, which will catapult their influence in the empire.
I see. And do all the workers here feel the mine is being improperly managed?
No, but the Vasquezes have a particularly poor reputation amongst my people.
Where might we find the Vasquezes?
Their estate is not too far. I suggest going tomorrow, though. You will have to trek through the wilderness to get there.
Perhaps I'll make the trek tomorrow after we talk some more with the other families.
Indeed. Have a good day, and be careful around here.
Oh, we shall.
You guys head back to the manor, and the endeavor you were going to work on, Lancelito, it was investigating the Manuela family. So that's going to take place over the course of the week. I gave you the information immediately, but you don't actually get it until the end of the week.
Okay.
Okay. Once you get to the manor, Badger becomes the main character. And remind me, you two, that you sent spies out. I will get to you at the end of Bernadette's turn.
I was hoping that I could also send a spy out. I will consult my party and see if they think it would be a better investment to send a spy into the mines or towards Antonio's papa.
Ooh, I hadn't considered sending a spy to the mine. That might be a good idea.
I still think we were trying to hunt down whatever it is that's got these people spooked.
I would go ahead and send a spy into the mines then.
Your spy heads to the mines, and they will be keeping an eye on it for the entire week. So you're going to get all the juicy gossip that you know is going on there.
Nice. So that's 1 wealth point taken away.
On wealth point is guts to
Alrighty.
eat.
Pay fair wages. And then I, retroactively realizing that I should have asked the person that we were just speaking to yesterday about they know anything going on in the mines, because a lot of them are like indentured servants, correct?
Yes. And they are one of the families that work in the mines. Like, you know, 2 families snuck off to the mines during the festival when they should have been off work. You don't know anything about that one particularly.
Yeah, so as a sort of a show of good faith, can I go back to that guy the next
Mhm.
morning? I would do that, and as a show of good faith, tell him about how we were hearing some rumors of some of the other families going in there on the festival day and see what they think about that.
What is Bernadette's ethnicity? I know you told me that, but I forgot. Is she
Remember.
Huron? Is that why she's interested in them, or is she interested in them just because she's curious?
She is interested in history, and they would probably keep a more accurate and unbiased history than the people in
The emperor
power.
that actively suppresses history? Yes. Yes, they would.
Yeah.
Oh, and are you bringing anybody with you to visit Alger?
I would offer both my party members if y'all want to join me.
Yeah.
I think I would still getting a feel for this place, so I think I would shadow badger at this point.
You're going, but you're not. So when you say shadow, you mean like stay hidden?
No, like just tag along then. Sorry.
Okay, gotcha. Out to the Alger farm. Alger, it looks like I guess he's still enjoying the festival. You actually meet him. He's on his way away from the farm, go into town, and that's where you meet him, Bernadette.
All right, I will give him a hearty greeting and say, yes, I forgot to ask you about something yesterday. We had heard a couple rumors about some of the other families going into the mines on festival days. Have you heard anything about that? What do you think about that?
Nobody goes into the mine on the festival days. What families?
The Balquez and sorry, what was the other one?
Manuela and Joseph.
Yes, those families.
Well, that can't bode well. I'm just glad we're not a part of it.
Let me know if you hear anything, because I am rather curious about that. It seems kind of abnormal for traditions around here.
It is extremely abnormal, and I intend to stay out of it.
Fair enough. You guys seemed pretty spooked yesterday, too. I was wondering what had you so on edge.
You're from the Empire, aren't you?
Indeed.
You know of the Huron back on the mainland?
Yes, I have.
We were a conquered people, and a lot of my people were, in order to pay off our quote unquote debt to the emperor, have been enslaved. But as a citizen of the emperor in reasonable standing, you see, some of my closer family has been assigned to less than desirable tasks.
Like
To
what?
answering your question, I was wondering if maybe you could do a favor for me, and I'll answer a question of somewhat sensitive topic.
Depends on the favor, but I like to help a friend out when I can.
My niece and nephew, they live in the town of Lavia, and they have been assigned to some very undesirable work. I was wondering if you could use your influence as a citizen to perhaps get them reassigned.
I think that's maybe something I could have arranged. Seems like a pretty big ask. I could make that happen. Would you be willing to share any other relevant information that you come across?
Of course, with my benefactor. And he looks to your two companions. Perhaps you two would like to enjoy the rest of the festival?
Yeah, we could catch
Why
up
don't
with you guys
you can
later,
come
and
into my
I'll
hut. I'd like to talk to you.
yeah, let's do that.
So he's going to talk to Bernadette in private. What are the two of you doing while he speaks with her? So you guys are at the farm, but she went into a private building.
I'd mill, then just go make myself known. Don't try and hide.
Okay. And there are some farmers around that are willing to shoot the shit with you. They actually kind of want to know about the mainland. And Tristan, as a mercenary, moves around a lot.
And I try and make it spicy. That way I can be like, and if you want to know more.
All right, go ahead and make a glory check.
Oh,
Again,
God.
you're looking for tens.
So 3 dice again?
3 dice.
Glory is a 6. So that's 3 tens, actually.
You are quite the storyteller.
Ooh, yay.
And I am going to give you some influence with the Huron, because
Yay.
that was impressive. You have basically become the hero of the young folk of the Huron with all of your very impressive stories. They will be seeking you out in the future.
That works for me.
What about Lancelito?
I'm gonna talk to the farmers and see. I'm gonna ask them how about the conditions of the town and see if they think they're being treated fairly.
Which family members are you going to approach first?
Oh, I said the farmers, not the family.
Everybody's a member of some family. So there
Oh.
are 4 families. Pretty much every farmer is a member of one of those 4 families.
Whoever's around.
Just going to take Mingar because you haven't talked to him in a while. So one of his family members turns to you and says, I guess we're not really treated at all. I mean, since Xavier kind of lost his way, been pretty hands off.
How did Xavier lose his way?
Nobody knows. He just stopped paying mind to what goes on.
Ah, so is that why things seem to be in a state of disrepair?
There are a lot of reasons, but that's certainly one of the major ones.
Do you think if a mine were better managed, it would be more productive?
Better managed, repaired.
Is that what some of the other families feel they could run the mine better?
The Manuelas do, but we're peasants. We're not allowed to run the mine.
Sometimes peasants have ambition.
Not me, but I'll bet you Manuela would certainly see herself as someone who could run the mine.
Is she the type of person who would be making deals with unsavory characters?
Perhaps. I don't know. We don't have too many unsavory characters here.
Everyone seems to think the Vasquez are unsavory. Do you think she would make deals with the Vasquezes?
Perhaps. I didn't know that they were considered unsavory, to be honest.
I'm just going off of what I've heard around town.
Oh, I should get back to the festival.
Thank you for your time.
I think, Bernadette, did you have any more secret questions, or are you done with your secret conversation?
I think that's all I have right now. If I think of anything in the future, could I come back to him and like speak in private again?
Oh, certainly.
Wonderful.
So the rest of the day follows. Your minions are out doing their jobs. You guys don't manage to run across anybody else that has time to talk to you. So night falls. What is Bernadette working on over this week?
Let me look back at that little list of places we have.
Feel free to take some time. I've got some spies to resolve. So Galad, the spy, was looking into Manuela. He reports to you, Lancelita, that Manuela was actually paid a tidy sum of money by Carmen, who is the matriarch of the Vasquez family, to spread rumors to the Jelsev family that the patriarch, Lord Xavier, is dealing with the Fae. Bernadette, your spy was sent to the mines where he observed the Jelsev family and Manuela family attempting to steal supplies of ore from the mine.
Were they working together? Did they gather
No.
that?
And in fact, it looks like their dual plans interfered with one another and they were both forced to temporarily abandon their plans. Where was the last spy sent?
The constabulary.
He says the constabulary wasn't doing anything interesting and he gave up on him and went somewhere else. Where else did you send him?
We didn't actually discuss that.
No, we didn't, because I didn't know until I just looked up that the constabulary wasn't doing anything interesting.
All right, the Mingar then.
They're also not doing anything interesting.
God damn it!
That's probably why nobody cared.
For-
So, third option. Only person that regularly sails between here and the mainland, which means that any letters you send, and you know Bernadette is going to be sending letters, are going to be going through him. The spy chats him up and finds out that he actually has a son that is in prison in the mainland. And he laments this. He also knows that the reason that the boatman is the only one that traverses the waters is because the boatman is the only one that can do so safely, reliably. You see, while the weather is nice and it's summer and the sun is out, the seas are quite safe. But as soon as it starts to darken and the weather starts to worsen, the sun keeps a sea monster at bay. That sea monster resurfaces as the season changes. The boatman will be the only one that can travel the waters when that happens.
Sneaky boatman.
All right, did you make your decision?
I would work on gathering info about the Fae situation. Where are they coming from?
Roll a lore check.
That is 3 successes.
That is impressive. So you learn a few things. Number one, there is a superstition that the ore that is used in the mine actually harm the Fae. That belief is wrong. You know that because you are a wise and brilliant sage that rolled 3 successes. You know that the Fae are said to have increased lately and that there's more of them and that something is drawing them here. That's a rumor that's going around town. That is also false. There are not more Fae. There's just the same amount of Fae there always are. There are fewer soldiers that patrol between the mine and the town. That's kind of outside the purview of what you were researching, but you do know that the Fae are just as common as they always were, and not more common. the Fey presence here isn't the only weird mystical presence here. You get the sense there's something else. But again, that falls outside the purview of what you were looking into. And that takes you kind of an entire week to gather.
Would I have heard anything about the Fae relating to, I keep forgetting his name, but Antonio's dad?
They don't seem to have any influence over Xavier and are not involved with him in any way. Put some salt around his room to ward off the Fae, and he doesn't behave any differently. He's still kind of wacky. And you guys eventually meet Xavier, and he's just kind of an old man that's kind of out of it, and he's constantly talking about his deceased wife and how he needs to bring the family back to prominence so that she would be proud. So over the course of the week, Kristen, during your investigations, you are in town and a woman approaches you. The woman identifies herself as Isabel. She meets you probably in the mead house at some point.
Okay.
Excuse me, you are Tristan, the visitor?
Yeah, and who might you be?
I am Isabel. I live on this island, and I heard that you came to help the Alvarez family. I wanted to offer my services. I'm sure you have questions about this island. It is a strange place. I wish to offer my help in exchange for something ever so small.
And what would that ever so small item be, if I
Just
may ask?
a minor favor. But first, tell me, is there anything I can help you with?
Well, I typically don't like starting out as the one indebted, but there are strange things here indeed. But about the strangest thing ever here so far is the Alvarez patriarch. It's almost as if a madness has taken over him, slowly but surely.
Indeed, I fear that indeed there has been a madness. They say it's magical, but it's not. And unfortunately, he has become more and more obsessed with his dead wife, and that has taken all of his energy, all of his time, and it has drawn him away from things that he has to do. Fortunately, he has called Antonio, but Antonio is not a wise man. And while Antonio is dedicated and wishes to protect the Alvarez family, I fear he does not have the wherewithal to do it. I am so glad that he asked you for help. But back to Xavier, he will plunge this place into ruin if his negligence is allowed to continue. If no one picks up the mantle and makes certain that the logistical issues that surround this place are not taken care of.
What are these logistical issues, then? For as far as I can tell, it just seems to be a lot of families squabbling over what little permanence they have.
That certainly contributes, but you may have noticed the state of the manor, the state of the lighthouse. The broken lighthouse can't draw in ships like it could, and now only the boatman can carry ore from place to place. The mine itself is in a state of disrepair and may soon collapse if efforts are not taken to fix it. And the Fae that once were kept at bay by patrolling soldiers that Xavier employed have been allowed to run rampant. I hope this has been helpful. My time is short here.
It has. So what is this favor that you need?
Do not worry about it. It has been paid. And with that, she turns, does a little curtsy. She walks out the door. We're going to go to the next week. And we're going to start.
Can we do a quick 5-minute break?
Sure, yes.
I would just like to say, that there is a place you can go and actually purchase this game, Antagonist RPG.
Ooh, an ad break.
Yeah. At drivethroughrpg.com, just search for Antagonist, the RPG, or just Antagonist RPG. You should be able to find it. Also, I just put the link on the break screen. It's right here, guys. Chat, if you want to look. There's also more info and a video summary that's done by the creator, the guy who's been game mastering this whole time, James Somerton. This is his game. So, James, why don't you talk a little bit about it?
So, Antagonist is a game set in an empire run by a pretty standard Dark Emperor that's immortal and seeking to conquer the world. He is the great villain in every fantasy story, and just on the verge of that third act, right before the heroes rise up to defeat him. And that is the point at which the player characters come into the story. They don't come in as the heroes. They're in that empire. They're poised for that victory, that must surely come because no hero could possibly stop them. And they have to be part of this empire and kind of carve out a bit of it for themselves, while at the same time maintaining it against these potential heroes that might be rising up against them. The game focuses on political intrigue, matters of state, and in fact, it has a combat system that uses social and economic combat. Not only can you plunge a sword into your rivals, but you can also smear their reputation, get them disgraced from the empire, render them mere beggars. Yeah, so that's kind of the unique aspect of it. The players are in an interesting spot and they can do interesting things that you can't do in most role playing games.
And I think everyone's back, so I think you're good to resume.
Okay. Kristen, you've had some time to think. Where are you going? Who are you talking to? What are you doing?
I approach Lancelito. Lancelito, I feel I don't typically get this desperate. Nobody here is making a move. And I think either somebody needs to stir the Vasquez family or somebody needs to approach the Fae.
I could approach the Vasquez family.
You read my mind.
I am interested to hear directly from this family what they're doing and why.
I leave them to you then. Wish me luck with the Fae.
Stay safe, my friend.
I will do my best. I don't have this sword for nothing.
If you are going out to the Fae, there was one little thing that I forgot to mention to Bernadette. Bernadette, you know that while the ore itself is useless, unlike what people are saying, actually useful is cold iron. Deal with the Fae. Cold iron and salt.
Oh, knowing that, I would have promptly stocked up on such.
And Tristan, you notice Bernadette strangely stocking up on these mysterious items.
And I would share that information, especially if I knew that Tristan was gonna go be
Well,
interacting with them.
Let's retcon just a little bit, and I approach the two of you, and I give that same speech, and then yeah, I would take that. Ah, cool. Cold iron and salt. When you say cold iron, like, what do you mean by that? Just
Is iron forged without heat?
oh,
So it is actually pretty difficult to get. You can get the salt.
So we're very salty and we need to find some cold forged iron.
You can send for it from the mainland, but you probably won't find it on the island.
I think I'm gonna have to do without. Dang. Would that mean that I would have to spend like an influence point to just attempt to get it?
If you spend a wealth, you send somebody with a bunch of money to get it. If you spend an influence, you know a guy who owes you a favor. And you can get it that way.
Oh, okay. I would want to spend a wealth point then to buy, let's say, a sword made like a weapon made of cold iron. And then I'd look at my compatriots and I'd be like, well, okay. And then are we gradually getting paid while we're here at the behest of Antonio?
You're getting paid after you finish, so
Ah,
spend your
fudge.
wealth wisely.
I gotcha.
Oh, you have the weaponsmith skill. Yeah, so you could actually just get the ore itself and make the weapons, which would allow you to get more of them for the same amount.
I'll go and do that then.
So you send for this ore, comes close to the end of the week. Is there anything you want to do in the meantime?
I consult with my doctor and ask him how
Oh yeah, he was going to get back to you.
how his interactions with the farmers went, or with the
Yeah.
farm went.
Oh yeah. They showed me all sorts of new boils, but you told me to check out the animals, so I mostly stuck with that. The animals look not the healthiest, but not terrible. I couldn't see anything particularly wrong with them. I got to say, this whole malaise on the island, it's not being reflected in the animals, at the very least, I can say.
Oh boy. If you cured the people of their boils, would they give you money?
How much money do you think they have?
Probably not much.
Yeah, I mean, if
Point.
you want a few copper moan, I could probably get those to you.
That wouldn't even be worth it.
Buy a stick of peppermint.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe you can get into their good graces if you just did it for free.
No, if you give me the supplies, I can certainly start tending to. I mean, they certainly have some issues.
So much I want to do, and not enough money to go around, as ever.
Why don't you borrow it from some of your friends? They look rich.
I strike a glance at Badger and Lancelito.
I got one coin to my name.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Isn't Lancelito off trying to talk to
No,
Vasquez's?
you're just gone. My bad. Ugh. Right.
Ask me again in 1 week. I might have something more for you.
I spend the time it takes for the cold iron to arrive, going around to the various families, asking them for spare salt, hoping to strike up a conversation, and inform them that I intend to deal with the Fae threat.
You want to focus on one particular.
The Yeslevs.
Oh, that's a good choice.
I figured.
Okay. Yeah, they're the most worried about the Fae. Why don't you make me a honor, glory check?
That'd be 2 successes. I should have put more
You
points.
say you're going to finally deal with those monstrosities? It's about time. Since the soldiers stopped patrolling, I swear, they've been stealing souls. You can sense the issues that they cause. If you can deal with them, you will have our support. Antonio, Xavier, whoever.
I am here at the behest of Antonio, but I would appreciate you remembering the name of Tristan, the Tristan of the Red Blades, as well.
A red blade? Perhaps you do have a chance.
I appreciate your vote of confidence.
You do seem to have impressed him. The ore arrives. We'll be going back in time to deal with Bernadette and Tristan. I know Tristan was doing something much before then. The ore arrives, and you're able to fashion a few rough weapons out of it. The fact that you can't actually heat the iron makes it tough, so these definitely aren't quality weapons.
Fair, but I've at least got a few weapons that will actually be effective against the Fae.
What are you going to do with them?
I've got at least one family who has my back. I've got weapons. I've got the weapons at the ready. Yeah, I patrol at night.
So they said they'd have your back if you took care of it.
And I sent Lancelot off to deal with the... God dang. I did set this up to be alone, didn't I? I guess I'm handling this alone.
Okay. Go ahead and make me a brawn finesse roll, and your weapon gives you advantage.
What is advantage in this system?
It lowers your difficulty by 1. So normally you need 10s, now you need 9s.
Cool. That that 3 needed that 9, so that's 3 successes.
Oh, I was going to say you need to accrue 3 successes over however many weeks it takes you, but it looks like it took you 1 week. So you go out into the woods, and people tell you, don't go out at night. But you are decked out in your bags of salt, and you have 2 really rough forged, kind of janky looking swords.
Yep.
And you go out and you meet all of these nasty creatures. You've got some wolfmen. Again, Fae create half Fae by mating with various animals. So you've got wolfmen, you've got these badger monstrosities, you even have goblins. You're not really sure where goblins come from, and you don't want to know.
I try
But
not to ask too many questions.
you do manage to make it understood by the Fae, who are semi-sentient, that this path is not to be walked by leaving a trail of creatures. You can put up some heads or what have you, but this area is safe now.
I lay like a lot of that salt along that path, and
Yeah,
like
just
carcass.
to make sure.
Yeah, and me as a player, I don't know what you're supposed to do with the carcasses of half Fae beings, but Tristan as a character hopefully does.
Okay, so you're pulling
that I have no idea.
a Dracula thing and putting them up on spikes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, let's move on to Lancelito.
All right. Yeah, let's find out what these Vasquezes are up to.
You're going down to the Vasquez Manor.
Oh, they've got a manor.
It's not as nice as the manor you're staying in. Well, actually, it's nicer technically, but it's smaller. You notice quite a commotion up there. Are you approaching quietly or just out in the open?
I have nothing to fear. I'm out in the open.
You actually come upon some masked men. There's about 10 of them. And
Masked
they
men.
are casing the manor. They're hiding in the bushes around. You just walked out in the open, and as you approach, they hide. You can see them because you saw them. You kind of came up with them. You know where they are.
Does the manor appear empty, or can I tell that there's people inside?
There's people inside.
There's people inside. Okay, for the moment, I ignore the masked people, and
Okay.
I approach the manor and knock on the door. I don't know.
Servant answers, "Oh, hello. Who are you?"
Greetings. I am here as an agent of Lord Antonio to oversee the mine operations and protect his investment. I've come here to talk to you. I've heard rumors that the Vasquezes may be discontent with the way that the mine is being run, and I just have a conversation with you.
I'll get the mistress.
Thank you.
It's not long before a woman appears, kind of sumptuously garbed. She smiles broadly as she sees you. Ah, Antonio has such beautiful friends. Welcome. You said your name, my servant said your name was Lancelito?
Indeed. Greetings, Madam Carmen, is it? Uh,
Yes, Carmen
I
Vasquez.
Carmen Vasquez. I seek to talk to you, but also I wonder if you either know or are aware that there are masked men hiding in the bushes
What?
along the way.
Is this a joke?
No, I saw them as I was approaching your manor. I didn't know if you were aware of their presence or if you perhaps wanted some help. They didn't
Let
appear
me summon the guards. I definitely want some help getting rid of masked men skulking around my manor.
Do you know of anybody who might be seeking to attack you at your home?
Not at all.
Maybe we should go have a conversation with them first before I talk with you.
Excuse me, let me get the guards and you can show us where these men are. You wait. She moves inside.
Oh, yeah, I'll wait.
4 guards come out. So remember, there's 10 men in the bushes. And she doesn't emerge, but the leader of the guards says, "You said there's people here. How many?"
About 10.
Oh dear.
Well, if you'd like to
Johan,
accompany
go
me,
get the constabulary. One of the younger guards moves back into the stable and gets on a horse, and it looks like he's ready to set out towards the town. I'd rather not engage a force that strong. We should wait here and hope that they don't cause trouble before the constabulary gets here.
oh, I don't imagine they'd be much of an issue for me, but all right, I'll leave them for you.
You are quite confident. What is your background, my friend?
Oh, I learned at the finest academy for dueling. I can hold my own.
Ah, Weldrake. If we had a Weldrake on our side, we might be able to deal with them. Would you be interested in lending your assistance to the Vasquez family?
For the moment, first I'd like to have a conversation. I can keep an eye on them while we talk.
Of course. I can't allow Carmen to come out here while the manor is in danger.
Well, maybe I can step inside and keep an eye out the window.
As you like. Okay, so you do that, and Carmen is in fact inside looking out the window. And she turns to you and says, "Well, interesting times, eh, my friend?"
Indeed. I've heard rumblings that the Vasquezes are interested in perhaps taking over operations of the mine. Might I ask why you're interested in doing such a thing?
Oh, don't be silly. We would never seek to undermine the Emperor's chosen.
Do you not find that the operations are, shall we say, lacking in disrepair?
I have the utmost faith that Xavier will manage to put all things in order.
Is there any way that I might be able to speed along this process?
Putting things in order?
Yeah, to ensure that things are to your liking.
No, I think things will work out soon. You don't need to do anything.
Oh, well, that's pleasing to hear. If there's nothing for me to do, then why am I here?
Antonio worries for his father, but he needn't. His father is not as bad as people say.
What rumors do you hear about his father? What are people saying?
Well, I am his vassal, so I don't just hear rumors. I speak with him regularly. Or I used to. He doesn't speak with as many people these days. You see, the Vasquez family, we came to help Antonio to improve his production. We know more about this ore than any other group in the Empire. We have the only other mines. We have all of the other mines. This is the only one we don't have. So we came to offer our expertise to the Lord.
I see. So you're commissioned as consultants, not overseers.
Correct.
Well, still begs the question: who are these masked figures outside that were roaming about your manor? Do you have any idea who might want to attack?
Now, I think we'll have our answer soon. I believe that's the constabulary's horse and his men at a distance.
Ah,
Shall we go out and meet
excellent.
them?
Yes, let's.
You guys go out. The constab comes down and says, the newcomers. And Carmen, good to see you, I suppose. So, shall we go investigate these bushes? You, sir. Lancelito, was it? Why don't
Yes.
you lead the way?
All right. I've been keeping an eye on these guys, so I just start walking straight for them.
Okay, so when you get there, they are in fact gone. But after a search, why don't you give me an intrigue check?
Look for their footprints or whatever and see if.
The footprints seem to go back to town. But give me an intrigue check, anyways.
Oh, well, that's not great.
Well, then it wasn't you that finds it, but the constabulary just finds something and look it over with a peculiar look, and then he looks to you and he tucks it away.
A peculiar look, huh? What are your thoughts, Constabulary?
We'll need to conduct a longer investigation. There's not a lot of people on this island. There were definitely people here, though.
Well, at least that limits the number of individuals it could be.
Need to get back to this, and I think my men and I can handle it from here.
All right. Well, I'll leave it to you then.
So you head back to town, or back to the manor. What are you working on this week?
I was keeping an eye on the Manuela family, and my spy was checking in on them, but I already heard back about the spy, and I guess I learned about Manuela's self-interest in expanding her wealth.
Well, that was last week.
Oh, that was last
You
week.
can do something again this week.
Is
If you want
anyone?
time to think of it, we can go to Bernadette.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to.
Bernadette.
We, at this point in time, we're like going back to the beginning of this week, and so it is before
Before the
Lancelito
fade.
has gone and spoken to Carmen. Okay. I would go to Antonio and see if would it be possible to propose using the smuggler skill, like offer to like do a job that would involve that to generate wealth.
Oh, you want to generate wealth with smuggling. Offering to do it might
A
be
side
dangerous,
gig in a
but you
gig.
can just do it.
Oh yeah, if I can just do it, then yeah.
Okay, what are you smuggling?
Can I smuggle some ore out of the mines and have it sent to the mainland for like, oh, I know a guy who wants that?
Oh, you are definitely a nefarious sort. Okay, so this is ore that normally only the Emperor is allowed to purchase, not like publicly available. So you can definitely find some buyers for that. Getting the boatman to carry a package to one of your friends on the mainland isn't too much of an issue. You got him to send you a letter last week, so he just does it again, and you just don't tell him what's in there and you make sure your friend picks it up. The boatman brings you back a promissory note, which is worth quite a bit, and you gain a wealth.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice
What
job.
else do you do?
Then in the meantime, I would go back to
Did you go? You went to the mine to smuggle stuff, right?
Oh, okay. Is that everything then?
No. If you went to the mine, there's some stuff that happens.
Well, I did need to go there to get
Yeah.
the ore, so
So you already gotten the ore, and you're sneaking out, and you have just left when you hear a commotion behind you. It seems like most of the Jelsiv family and the Manuela family have all kind of gathered shortly outside the mine. You managed to avoid their notice for now, but they appear to be arguing loudly, and they're each accusing the other of having stolen and smuggled ore out of the mine.
so crazy. Who would have done that?
Apparently, literally everybody.
Does it seem like they were maybe referring to an incident that happened like prior to me, or are they reacting to
Yeah,
the
last
or
week.
that like?
They're referring to last
Oh,
week
okay.
during the festival.
Got
in
it,
fact.
got it.
Yeah, you weren't the first one to come up with this idea.
I thought they were one of the two families that were originally part of it, but that was my bad. I got that confused.
These are the two families that you identified as sneaking off during the festival, and they are both accusing the other of having stolen ore during that time period.
Oh, okay. I would just listen for any info and then get out of there, hopefully unseen.
It looks like they are having a major disagreement, and it is degenerating. You can escape pretty easily because they're mostly paying attention to each other. But you do hear that, oh, the Mingar family is also here. They're not being accused of anything, and they're not accusing anyone of anything. But at some point, they are kind of observing and staying neutral. So you leave, and where do you go? You get all the ore taken care of. It's being sent to your friend. You're going to get your money any day now.
I would go back to Algar and see if they are making moves on what Antonio asked of them.
You go to Algar's hut, and something looks like it's up there. You want to approach quietly or out in the open?
I'm gonna approach quietly, but if I see Algar, I'll,
Kill yourself.
yeah, unless he's like
Wait.
talking to someone, but if he's alone, I
Make,
will.
make a finesse intrigue test.
So fail, success, fail.
You kind of creep up, and they don't notice you at first, but you do get close enough to notice 10 masked men coming onto the farm and removing their masks. And you see that much before they notice you.
If they notice me, I will ask for Algar and say that I'm looking for him.
So they all draw weapons, but as you mentioned Algar's name, one of the men, the last one to take off the mask, is in fact Algar. And he walks forward to you, and he puts up his hands. You've done a few favors for him now, right?
Yeah, I mean, assuming that his niece and nephew did indeed get free when I spent that
Oh, yeah.
intrigue or influence, my bad.
I actually have down here that you've done 2 favors for him. I wonder what the other one was.
Oh, I told him some information just like
Oh, that's right.
out of good
Okay.
faith.
Badger, I'm glad it's you. I'm sorry you had to see this, but I suppose we can trust you.
Of course.
Understand that what you saw, doesn't involve you or the Alvarez family.
Understood.
So, what can I do for you?
I actually just came to see if you were making moves on what we had spoken about last week.
It didn't go well, but yes, we attempted to.
Oh, is that
Unfortunately, one of your associates oiled us.
oh, that's rather interesting. Was there a conflict?
Managed to avoid the conflict, but
Unseen.
we need someone to blame for some things. We don't want to pick any fights with the Alvarez, but if we need testimony from you, would you provide it?
I can't say that I've seen anything tonight or ever.
Let me be more specific. If we were in the mead house all day, you and my family, you would remember that, right?
Yeah, I would say I would.
Understand that we will be deeply in your debt if this comes up.
Well, should it come up, it was nice seeing you, the meat hall.
And that's a third favor for the Algar family. Did you have anything else you wanted to do here?
I don't think so.
So you head back to the manor. What is Bernadette working on this week? She researched the Fae last week. Oh, by the way, you saw the state of the mine, and it was a mess when you were in there stealing.
I would work on talking to Lancelito, figure out what he was gonna do for the week. Could I like powwow with
Yeah.
the group and see what everyone else is
Yeah, I guess
doing?
Lancelito still has his action, so if you guys wanted to coordinate, go for it.
I'm
I would be
killing-
interested to know just what y'all are planning this week.
I'm out killing fairies.
You're out killing fairies.
Sick.
Has anyone checked out the villain estate yet? I can't remember.
You were just there.
Oh, right. Okay.
Sorry.
I thought it was about
this
kids.
is from
Anyway.
Antonia's perspective. From Antonia's perspective, that's the villain estate.
Okay. All right. Wait, we haven't checked out the harbor, have we?
I did.
I think you sent a spy there.
Yeah, I sent a spy there, and
Oh, you sent a spy there. Okay.
But that was last week, so you don't know
Yep.
what's going on this week.
Oh, all right. Maybe I should go to this constabulary, check in
Want to
again.
investigate him?
Yeah, they hold power in the town. I'd probably check into them.
How subtle do you want to be about your investigations over the course of the week?
I would like to tread lightly.
Okay, we'll call that a spy action. It's going to be finesse, intrigue. This will get you a much deeper degree of information than you would have gotten with just an inquiry.
Well, I guess success, because my finesse is
Okay, that's
5
pretty
and my
good.
intrigue is 3. So
That is the success at spy test. So you're sneaking around the constab's place. This is your weekly action, so you have all week to gather information. And eventually, you can't be there all the time. You actually get into the constabulary's office and you're looking through and you manage to find a journal that talks about a very specific insignia that was found when the men were about to raid Carmen's estate. And the insignia is Lord Xavier's. So it looks like the constab is considering the idea that, you reported 10 men and you came on the ship with 10 men. and an insignia of Lord Xavier was found at the place. So he's wondering if this might be your group. But then he also mentions, but why would their own people betray them and inform on them? So he's really confused right now. Let's see, what else is he up to? He also mentions that Mingar was poisoned earlier in the week, and he's looking into that. So that is what Lancelito discovers. Badger, what are you up to?
Okay, so after having spoken to Algar, I would speak to Lancelito, having gathered that he was the one who was there at Carmen's when the 10 masked men showed up, and I would see what he thinks about that, and if he thinks if he would rather not let that family take a hit.
I don't know the identity of the masked men, although it seems, for all the negative comments about the Vasquez family, it seems that they aren't opposed to Xavier's control of the mine. So I don't know why people are suspicious of them.
I would send a spy to see if they could find out anything from Carmen's family, and I would just spend my time speaking to Antonio and just seeing if he had any plans for the mines and is coming up with anything to help his cause of keeping his family in power.
You send a spy on Carmen?
Yes.
He actually finds out a lot. Okay. Number one, Carmen was seen visiting the boatman, and your spy snuck up kind of close and found out that she is sending a request to the main Vasquez family. And it seems she's calling in mercenaries under the Vasquez control. Now, Badger wouldn't know too much about Empire law, so you don't know whether that's kosher or not, but she is making a call to the mainland for mercenaries, probably like 100 or so, which is more than all of the soldiers on the island by 10 times over. Further, you find out that Carmen's servant and operative, Lucia, there was a poisoning attempt on her in the mead house, and they determined somehow that Antonio was guilty of this. So he attempted to poison Lucia, but she caught on to the plan and had the poison, or she didn't catch on, but because of circumstance and accidents and mistakes made, Mingar was the one that was poisoned, and they're blaming Antonio. He actually did do it, but he was trying to poison Lucia, not Mingar.
Okay.
And that's everything your spy finds out. So what is Bernadette up to over the course of the week?
After the spy would have delivered that information back to me, I would convey that to my party members and also Algar.
That
You
felt
guys
like a
are informed of what Carmen is up to, and so is Elgar.
that felt like a small tome worth of stuff. Good lord.
Yeah, that was the person to spy on this week. You have like one weekly action that Bernadette can do. Pick something, investigate someone, because your spy investigated someone, so you didn't have to do that yourself. Fix something, investigate someone or something, or some other action you can think of that would take a week.
I guess I would just myself spy on Jelsev.
A spy test is finesse, intrigue.
Fail, pass, fail.
So you get a partial success. You are going to succeed in getting information about them, but they know that you were looking into them. The information you find out. Okay, so you know they were trying to steal the ore. They were also accusing the Manuela of stealing the ore. Also found evidence of ritualistic magic being used in the mine and it points back to Xavier, Lord Xavier. They're very upset at that, and they're trying to convince Mingar to turn against Lord Xavier using this information. And now they know Lord Xavier knows that they're doing this because they caught you spying on them.
Okay.
So with that said, did Tristan already? So Lancelito, you were out spying on the constabulary, and while you were casing the place waiting for him to leave, a woman approaches you. And the woman is younger than a lot of the kind of people in charge in the town. And she's dressed in the garb of the nobility. You don't recognize her. You haven't seen her at all around. You know she's not from the manor, which is the only place nobles really hang out. She approaches you directly while you're alone, and she says, Ancelito, yes?
Yes.
You came on the request of the good Lord Antonio, did you not?
I did.
I want to say that I am very grateful for all that you have done for the Alvarez family thus far. I wanted to offer you some assistance. I was wondering if I could provide any information. I know this island, though I'm sure you've heard stories of it from Antonio. I know this island probably has a great number of mysteries that would bewilder one from the mainland, and I want you to succeed in helping the Alvarez family. I wish to dispel the mystery that might prevent you from providing assistance.
Oh, what of it?
Yes, perhaps in exchange for a small favor, I could answer a question or provide insight on anything you wish.
What sort of favor?
It is perhaps a good word from you to a friend of mine, nothing more.
I could be of service, depending on who this friend of yours is.
Well, it will be Lord Xavier eventually, but not just now. For now, let me help you.
Sure.
So, what would you like me to help you with?
Are the Vasquezes as well intentioned as they would suggest?
It is good you ask me this. I fear you have been horribly deceived. The Vasquez hide under honeyed words, but they secretly wish to take the mine from Lord Alvarez, and they are engaged in all manner of attempts to do so. They have sabotaged the mine that was before you even got here. They gave leave to the guards that once patrolled the path to the mine. They turned the families against Lord Alvarez and have numerous plots to frame Lord Alvarez for all manner of crimes that he did not commit. And I fear if their attempts are not successful, they may even use violence to take what they want. You see, the Vasquez, if they can control all of this ore, and it's the Empire, they will have the Emperor's ear directly. And they would stop at nothing to do this.
Hmm.
I hope I have been helpful.
You have, revealing this to me. It seems the Vasquezes have not been as honorable in my attempts to discuss honestly with them.
Indeed, I hope that you are a little more suspicious in the future. Now, I must go. And she wanders off on the road, peering into the fog. You finish your mission with the constabulary. You learn what you learned. You meet up at the manor and hear the tales of your companions and what they were up to over the course of the week and all they have learned and what they have managed to accomplish. The week draws to a close, and I think we will end the session there.
All right.
Woo.
Yeah. Woo.
Heck yeah.
Oh, we got about half the distance that I was hoping we'd get, but I think we will probably make up the time next time. I think everybody's got the hang of it. I feel like I've gotten the hang of it, and hopefully I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for running this.
Yeah,
It's fun.
thank you.
I like it. It's rich in mystery.
Hopefully it's suitably Halloweenish.
Oh yes, I'd say that we're definitely off to a great start with this, and I would say that there was a lot of intro in the beginning, and that probably is what took up more time than you estimated, James. But pretty got through there, getting into the political intrigue a little bit, and can't wait to see what happens in session 1.5. Next game. And I want to thank you, chat, for watching. And thank you, players. And thank you again, James, for running this game.
Thank you for hosting, Cliff.
Oh, yeah. And if you guys wanted to keep up on all serious industry streams, the best way to do that is to join our Discord. We also have Ko-fi. Please stop by our Ko-fi. And if you're feeling generous to a passionate content creator such as myself, I'd really appreciate that. There's also the website, shatteredempire.net. Shattered Empire is a post-apocalyptic, interstellar synthwave-fueled tabletop RPG. If you go to the website, it has enough for you to make a character, the free alpha, there. And if you're a crafty enough game master, you might be able to utilize the free alpha to make your own campaigns. So check that out. And we'll be back next time with some more of our Halloween spooky game. Until next time, this is Abacus Fish signing off.